Football season ended, I don't know, 5 minutes ago. So that means offseason is in full swing, and we're going to start looking forward to this 2026 NFL draft. And quite frankly, I think this wide receiver position is severely underrated, and it might be the best wide receiver class that we've had in a very long time. It's pretty deep, so let's get into it. My name is PJ. This is Fourth and Everything. Let's talk some ball. What is going on, everyone? I'm excited to dive into these wide receiver prospects that we're going to see in this upcoming draft. I have them broken down into 3 different tiers, and I'm going to talk about some dark horses for this next season as well. Some guys that might fall into the 2nd or 3rd round. So day 2, day 3 draft prospects. Nevertheless, I think there's some great wide receiver talents that can immediately see the field in year 1 or year 2 in the league. So the first guy that I have up is wide receiver out of USC, Makai Lemon. Now, Makai Lemon is a 21-year-old prospect. He's 5'11", 195 pounds, and out of high school, he was a top 10 wide receiver recruit. We've seen some elite wide receivers come out of USC in the past few years. Drake London, Jordan Addison, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, Makai Lemon is a very young prospect. He's only played 3 years total of college football, and we've seen him come along really in the past year. His sophomore year, he was fairly productive. He played in 12 games. He had 52 receptions on 72 targets and 764 yards and 3 touchdowns. It really wasn't until 2025 whenever Makai Lemon really came into his own as a wide receiver and a wide receiver 1 for this USC offense. He put up 1,156 yards on 79 receptions. He acquired 106 targets, and this guy put up 11 touchdowns. That's elite, and he was most definitely the best wide receiver in the 2025 season, hence the Biletnikoff Award. He recorded 3.13 yards per route run, which is elite. I think the league average for the NFL is 1.4 to 1.5. So if he can translate that into the pros, there's no doubt in my mind that this guy can be a wide receiver 1 on an NFL team. Now, Lemon is a shorter wide receiver prospect. He's listed at 5'11", 195, a short, compact player, but he's got great speed. He runs a 4.48 40, and he plays really well in the slot. He can play on the outside, but he's a crisp route runner that knows how to get open in space and make plays. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Makai Lemon's game, but I'd encourage you guys to go back and watch his game against Iowa. There were monsoon conditions. It was a perfect game script for this Iowa offense. Ground and pound. The field was absolutely swamped. But no, this guy put up 10 receptions for 153 yards and a touchdown. He had some spectacular grabs, and it just shows who he is as a wide receiver and his playmaking ability. This guy put up those numbers against a top 10 Iowa pass defense. It's not like he was playing Nicholls State. It's not like he was playing Arkansas State. It's not like he was playing Sam Houston State. He was playing a top 10 FBS pass defense. And I believe he has the ability to produce in that same manner against a pro-style defense. Now, I was looking at some scouting notes, player profiles that some NFC scouts had put together for Makai Lemon, and he was compared to Amon-Ra St. Brown, JSN, and Puka, and his ability to get open in space, and he has that yak explosiveness. He wins in separation, and these scouts think that he can be a year 1 starter wherever he ends up in the league. Now, I do think that Makai Lemon belongs at this top wide receiver spot in this draft class, but I think you can make a good argument for the following 2 guys that I'm going to talk about. I think they can all 3 be placed in the same tier. I just put Makai Lemon at the top of my list due to his production this last year, and I think he has true wide receiver 1 upside in his ability to get open in space, create plays, and make guys miss in the open field. The next guy I'm going to talk about is a walking highlight reel, Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. Now, this guy, he's extremely fun to watch. He's more of a spectacular catch, go up and get it type of guy. He measures out at 6'3", 195 pounds, and he's also a young prospect at 21 years old. He was the number 1 wide receiver in his draft class and a 5-star coming out of high school. In 2024, last year, he put up 52 receptions for 733 yards and 4 touchdowns. And this last year, he put up 51 receptions for 875 yards and 9 touchdowns. And he only played in 9 games. He missed 3 games due to a calf strain, but I don't expect that to be a big deal whenever it comes to his draft process. I mean, all this guy did was catch touchdowns. I think what he did at Ohio State was very impressive considering that he split snaps with Jeremiah Smith, who is probably the best wide receiver prospect that we've seen in a very, very long time. But he tracks the ball deep so well. And this guy on 66 targets this past season had 0 drops. He didn't drop the ball one single time this last year. He was targeted 14 times with 50-50 balls, or in the category of contested catches. He came down with 12 of them. That's an 86% contested catch rate. That's elite. That's what Carnell Tate does. He's a guy that you can throw the ball up to, and 86% of the time he's going to come down with it. Now, a lot of his targets at Ohio State were deep crossers, posts, fades, a lot of vertical routes, but I think this guy has a lot of untapped potential. And I think if he gets in the right offense, he has the ability to accumulate more targets, and he's a guy that can make plays with the ball in his hands. Now, Carnell Tate does win over Makai Lemon whenever it comes to contested catch rate. I just put Makai Lemon up at number 1 because of his production in college. And I think he has the ability to make plays in the open field, get separation over the middle, a little bit better than what Carnell Tate can do. Now, all 3 guys that I'm going to talk about in tier 1 have been comped to either go to the Giants, the Saints, or the Titans because they all need wide receiver help. But I think Carnell Tate can fit in almost any pro-style offense. He's a guy that can really test those safeties over the top and win contest and catch balls, and he can make plays when you need them. But some team fits that I see Carnell Tate fitting right into: the Saints. The Saints need a wide receiver 1 to help Tyler Shuck. I think he'd pair it great with Chris Olave, another wide receiver out of Ohio State, and then you add Chris Olave into the mix. That Saints offense would look great with Carnell Tate. I think the Giants are also a great landing spot for Carnell Tate. You can pair him with Malik Neighbors on the outside. I think Jackson Dart needs some help in year 2, some more weapons to throw to, especially a guy that could go up and get it downfield, and that's what Carnell Tate brings. Another team that I could see him going to are the Browns with no clear wide receiver 1. I mean, the Browns' leading wide receiver this year wasn't even a wide receiver. It was a tight end in Harold Fannin. So I could see Carnell Tate going early to the Browns as well. Now, although there's some question marks as to what Carnell Tate's ceiling could look like, you get one thing with him, and that's catching touchdowns and catching balls in contested catch situations. And the last guy in my tier 1 is Jordyn Tyson out of Arizona State. Now, Jordyn Tyson, he's a guy that's really missed a ton of games due to injury in his college career. But when he's healthy, we've seen what he's capable of. He sits at 6'2", 200 pounds. He's only 21 years old, and we really saw this guy start to come into his own in the 2024 season whenever Arizona State started going on a playoff run with Cam Scadaboo on that offense. But he put up 75 receptions for 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. Now, what this guy's upside can really look like whenever he's healthy, I mean, just take a look at this game against Kansas State in 2024 towards the end of the season. 12 receptions on 17 targets, 176 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, just take a look at this game against Arizona just a couple of weeks later. 8 receptions on 10 targets, 143 yards and a touchdown. His upside's there. He's a wide receiver talent, and just like I said, he's a 10 reception, 11 reception guy that can clearly put up over 120, 130 yards a game. We saw that in college at Arizona State, but this guy does have a super extensive injury history. Unfortunately, his freshman year, whenever he was at Colorado before transferring to Arizona State, he blew out his knee. He tore his ACL, PCL, and MCL. He then transferred to Arizona State, where he only played in 3 games. And then in the 2024 season, he broke out. I just listed those stats for you guys. But at the end of the 2024 season, he broke his collarbone in the game against Arizona. In the 2025 season, he only played in 9 games because he had a lingering hamstring issue. Now, outside of these injuries, this guy can put up numbers and he could be a sure wide receiver 1 in any of these pro offenses. But he's got to be healthy. If he's not healthy, he can't play. And like we hear all the time, the best ability is availability. And if this guy's not available, he's not going to be valuable. I think this guy has so much raw talent and high upside. He's just got to be healthy. So prayers up to Jordyn Tyson. I really want to watch this guy in the NFL. Now, like I said, the guys in this top tier landing spots are about the same for him. They could either go to the Giants, the Saints, or they can go to the Titans. I expect all of those teams to need some wide receiver help. But I could also see this guy, if he were to fall to the back half of round 1, he could go to the Ravens. I think the Jets could pick him up with their second pick in the first round. I think he could go to the Steelers. God, I hope not. That's where wide receivers go to die. Or he could go to the Eagles with their 23rd pick if they were to move on and trade A.J. Brown. I think that would be a fun offense to see Jordyn Tyson in. Now, this is where I'm going to officially end tier 1 with these wide receivers, but I think these guys in tier 2 have tremendous upside as well. Denzel Boston out of Washington. This guy's more of a taller wide receiver. He sits at 6'4", 209 pounds. He wasn't a highly recruited guy out of high school by any means. He's from the state of Washington, stayed at home, played for the Huskies. In 2024, put up 63 receptions for 834 yards and 9 touchdowns. In 2025, he put up 62 receptions for 881 yards and 11 touchdowns. He had 14.2 yards per reception, and he only had a 3.1% drop rate. Just like Carnell Tate is elite at catching balls in contested catch situations, and he had a 75% contested catch rate. Something that intrigues me about Denzel Boston as well is that he's very athletic for his size. Usually you see a drop-off in athleticism whenever you have guys that go over that 6'4" mark, but this guy is freakishly athletic. This Washington football team actually had Denzel Boston catching punts this last year. That just speaks to his athletic ability and his reliability as a player. To pair with his ball skills and just natural football ability, this guy runs a 4.52 40. For a 6'4" lengthy wide receiver, that's pretty good. Some weaknesses that I saw in some scouting reports, I'll just read them off for you guys. Production dips versus competition, and routes lose steam on breaks. But I think these are all things that he can grow into as a league wide receiver. Now, I put Denzel Boston in tier 2 just because he's a big question mark. He has so much raw ability and the upside is clearly there. It's just a matter of if he can develop into that ceiling or not. I can see Denzel Boston going to almost the end of the first round, maybe to a Buffalo Bills, maybe to, the Patriots could take another wide receiver. They kind of need some help on the outside. If he were to fall into day 2, I think he'd be a great value pick for any of these teams. Now, my 5th wide receiver ranked in this class and the final wide receiver in tier 2 is Concepcion out of Texas A&M. This guy is 5'11", 195 pounds. And this last year, he put up 61 receptions for 919 yards and 9 touchdowns. He was a transfer formerly out of NC State, where he put up 71 receptions for 839 yards and 10 touchdowns in the 2023 season. Now, talk about yak ability. Concepcion put up over 440 yards after the catch this year. He's a dynamic yak weapon, and he plays in the slot and on the outside as well. He puts up some great separation against man coverage, but some knocks on him by some NFL scouts. They say that he's a poor run blocker, which you put on the film, you can see as well because of his size. He's kind of a hit or miss type of receiver. He puts up some great film. He makes some great plays, but he also had 19 drop balls in 3 seasons in college football. Guys, that is the second most in all of college football in the entire FBS. This guy is a true boom or bust prospect, but I think if he were to boom, he'd be an elite wide receiver wherever he lands. He has true wide receiver 1 talent if he just cleans up those drops, but I think that's something that's very fixable. The production is there, the talent is there. It's just a matter if he gets in the lab and works on those hands. Ultimately, this guy knows how to find his way in the end zone. He caught 25 touchdowns on 185 receptions, and he put up over 2,200 yards in his college career. This guy's an ultra talent. He's just got to clean up some of those drops. So I think if he gets in the lab, puts his nose to the grindstone, I think he could be a for sure starter on an NFL roster. Now, I've got 2 dark horses for you guys today. My first one is Chris Bell out of Louisville. Chris Bell is listed at 6'2", 220 pounds, so he's got a bigger frame, and I think his body is NFL ready. There's not much room to grow on the physical side, but this guy was very productive in college. This last year, he was coming off of a torn ACL late in the season. I believe it was the last game of the year, but he still put up 72 receptions for 917 yards and 6 touchdowns. Chris Bell is a guy that can accumulate a big target share, and with that target share, he can put up some solid production. So I put a 3-game sample size of Chris Bell this last season. Against Miami, he put up 9 receptions for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. Virginia, he put up 12 receptions for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then against Pitt, he put up 10 receptions for 135 yards and 1 touchdown. I think if he were to come into that type of form or anything remotely close to it, some of these teams can get some great production out of Chris Bell. Some weaknesses that I see in his game: he kind of struggles against press coverage. He can find those soft spots in zone coverage, but whenever it comes to man coverage, that's something he has to really grow into as an NFL prospect, and he's not very good at the 50-50 ball. I would comp him to almost like a Debo. Debo was a lot higher ranked of a prospect coming out of South Carolina, but I think this guy has that type of upside. I think he could be a Debo Samuel in one of these offenses. I think Chris Bell is a first-round talent. But with that being said, he is coming off of a late season ACL tear, so that's why I think he's going to fall to the back of the second round. I think he's a guy you should keep your eyes on, and if he just cleans some things up, he could be a standout wide receiver in the league. The last wide receiver that I'm going to talk about in my final dark horse for this episode is a guy who last year, going into last season, I would think he'd be a first-round wide receiver. The wide receiver I'm going to talk about is Zachariah Branch, listed at 5'10", 180 pounds, kind of a smaller frame. He's got elite speed. He runs a 4.35, and with the ball in his hands, this guy can make some great plays. This last season in 2025, he had 81 receptions for 811 yards and 6 touchdowns. He had 10 yards of reception, and he's got some elite top-end speed. I think him with the ball in his hands is super electric, and it's something that a lot of these NFL scouts are going to want to take a swing on, especially if he were to fall to day 2. He did return punts as well at Georgia, and I think that's just another ability that a lot of these NFL scouts are going to want to take a swing at in this draft. If you're an asset on special teams, especially considering these new kickoff rules, that just helps your draft stock increase even more. He's a pure slot wide receiver, doesn't really play on the outside as much. I would comp him to almost a Tyreek Hill. I think that's what his upside would look like. By no stretch of the imagination am I saying that he is Tyreek Hill or that he's going to put up that type of production. Just the way that he catches balls with his body. And I mean, his top end speed is pretty comparable. He's not a very good route runner. A lot of his targets came from behind the line of scrimmage. That's what a lot of the NFL scout reports have mentioned. They don't love that he didn't run a lot of routes over the top, across the middle. A lot of his targets came from behind the line of scrimmage in screens, bubbles. Zachariah Branch, he has the speed, he has the elusiveness, he has the ability to be an asset on special teams. I think if he just cleans up his route running and he cleans up his hands, I think he's a guy that a lot of these teams could take a big swing on in this early second round, possibly the end of the first round. I think he could be a solid wide receiver 2, maybe even wide receiver 1 in an NFL offense. That's all I got for you guys today. Those are my top 5 wide receivers in this upcoming 2026 draft class with some dark horses. This class is going to be fun to watch. I'm excited to see where these guys land, and ultimately, I'm excited for football season to get here. It cannot come here soon enough. My name is PJ. This is Fourth and Everything. Come hang out next time where we talk some ball. I will see you guys later.